For the skeletal mast fibers, we can classify into two main groups. The first one is depending on what is their energy source. Like example, how do they make energy? ATP. And the second type is how fast do they contract? So depending on the source of energy, the skeletal muscle can be divided into two: oxidative fibers and glycolytic fibers. Oxidative fibers, as the name says, they use oxygen for their energy production. And glycolytic fibers, they will use a process called glycolysis, which is using the glycogen in the cell to generate energy. And on the other hand, according to how quickly, how fast they can contract, these muscle fibers can be divided into fast contracting fibers and slow contracting fibers. So the fast contracting fibers could be either oxidative or glycolytic, but slow contracting fibers are oxidative fibers. So let's say if we mix these two types together, then we get three types of muscles, which could be fast fibers, fast contracting using glycolysis, fast contracting using oxygen, fast oxidative, and slow fibers, which will be using oxygen, slow oxidative fibers. So let's look at the microscopic slide cross-section of the skeletal muscle. You can see three different types of muscle fiber. Slow oxidative fibers, they are pretty dark brown color. Fast oxidative fibers, they are less darker, and fast glycolytic fibers, they are pretty pale or white muscle fibers. So these are the three types of muscle fibers, and we got these three types depending on the source of energy they use and how quickly they contract. So let's start with the slow oxidative fibers. Slow oxidative fibers are, as we say, they are slow to contract, and their main source of energy is oxygen, which means as long as we are alive, we have constant supply of oxygen in our body, and therefore these muscles, they will not have any depletion in the source of the energy, and therefore these muscles will contract for a long time. So the example of these slow oxidative fibers are our big muscles in the back of the body, like latissimus dorsi or trapezius. These muscles, they are more like postural muscle, like keeping your back straight to keep you in position. They are contracting almost all the time. We cannot use these muscles to contract any faster. They are slow to contract, but because of the abundance of oxygen in our body, they will not be tiring at all. They will be contracting for a long time. So these fibers, like, they have a lot of myoglobin. Myoglobin is the pigment which absorbs oxygen from the bloodstream. So these muscles need a lot of myoglobin, which gives this color, like dark brown color. And at the same time, these muscles need a lot of capillaries, so that they get a lot of blood flow to the muscle, and they will pick up lots and lots of oxygen by these myoglobins. And these myoglobins exist in the muscle cell, which is what we call sarcoplasm. And they will have lots of mitochondria, and they will generate lots of energy from oxygen. And yes, they are long-standing fibers. The muscle fibers are thin and flimsy, but they will take a long time before they get exhausted. So the second type of muscle fiber is fast glycolytic muscle fibers, which is completely opposite One is slow to contract. This muscle is fast to contract. And they will not use oxygen. They will use glycogen, and they will generate energy through glycolytic pathway. They will metabolize the glycogen through glycolytic pathway to generate ATP to fuel this muscle. So this muscle, they will contract so fast, so quick, but there is a limit with glycogen supply in the cell, and therefore they will easily get exhausted and tired. So these example of these muscle fibers are the muscle fibers in our upper limb, like our hands, forearm, and arms. Like the movement of our upper limb is pretty quick, but because of the depletion of the glycogen, these muscles will get exhausted and get tired pretty easily. So there is one more group of muscle, which is fast and oxidative. So actually, they should be named as fast, glycolytic, and oxidative. Because these muscles, fast oxidative fibers, they will use oxygen source as well as they will use glycolytic source for their energy. So the example of these muscle fibers are like those muscle fibers in our lower limb, like our thigh and leg muscles. Because these muscle fibers, if we want to, we can train them to contract fast, like for sprinting. And at the same time, we can train these muscles to contract slow, but without any exhaustion. For example, like running for a marathon. So as I say, slow oxidative fibers, their muscle fibers are thin and flimsy. These fast glycolytic fibers, yes, they are forceful, quick-acting muscle. The muscle fibers are much bigger, and the muscle fibers for the fast oxidative glycolytic muscles, they are more like intermediate in between.